pop-up episode, Orange Podcast, bad episode 34 now. We're getting everything set up. Hey Cass, how you doing? We gotta get into this. Like the influencers, right? The influencers on the internet. Oh my god! Trump said no new wars. Are we in a war?
We're not only not in a war, but this isn't something that is new. This is something that's been going on for a very long time. So even if it is a war, we're not in a war. We're backing up a compadre, a friend, and that's literally what we're doing. Is we're popping up a friend. We're not in it. We're the backup, and that's what we're supposed to be doing as allies. If something were to happen in Mexico, believe it or not, should be there for Mexico. They're one of our allies. They may not seem friendly, but they are. Um, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, no. They don't seem friendly at all. But no, I totally agree with you. And I think the imbalance there is that Mexico is also not super ally with us when we need something. Um, I where Israel is. And so let's. I'll pay attention to these texts in a minute. Here's where we are with Israel. Everyone's going to say, "Well, you're funding them. Oh, they're buying most of this stuff from us. They're actually paying for it. Are we giving them money? Yeah, we give every country outside of four money, and we've all been complaining about that. We want that to stop. So are they buying weapons from us with our money? Probably. But that would be much different than with Mexico. We do fund them. We give them billions of dollars every year. If, we don't have a compact security agreement with them in the way they get security from us. They don't provide us any security. Canada through NORAD, right? It's called something different now. So was Mexico and Canada. There was a security agreement that America would basically protect them. It's just an agreement. It's NORAD. What the agreement with Israel is it's much different, and by being different, they actually provide us with something. They provide us with intelligence that's absolutely incredible, and we sell them weapons. And so you're going to say, "Oh, yeah, God, I've seen so many things on the internet in the last 2 days. Oh, see, like if I post that, they can say you're a Zionist. No, I'm not. I'm America first, and I don't have a problem with people who are Israel first, which is a Zionist. The social media is just a mess, Cass.
Well,
Let me get you in here.
we've actually. I mean, so the fact that we sell intel and we share technology and we sell weapons to Israel, we sell weapons to France, Egypt, Spain. We sell a lot of uh, technology and weapons to other countries. So the fact that does that mean that when Egypt has a problem and they use our old F-14s, does that mean that we're responsible for everything that they do? If they use missiles that we use, does that mean we're in it? No, we just sold them arms. That's what America is. We're the biggest and baddest force that's on the planet right now. I'm not saying that's not being challenged, but we are, and we have the best weapons, and that's exactly what's happening. Um, will that change? That maybe, probably. I mean, you can only be top dog for a while before you got to start fighting for it again. But we have all of this. that's out there with other countries. Our technology, our weapons, our planes, everything is out there with every other country. So many other countries out there. Not Iran. Iraq has our our military fleet. They have tanks. They have planes. So it's out there. It's just a matter of where it is when it's out there. I mean, when Biden had that mess up and pulled out, we left a ton of uh, assets on the ground that the enemy got.
$82 billion worth.
Yeah, that the
$82
enemy got a
billion
hold of.
dollars worth of assets.
Does that mean that we're friendly with the people that took our stuff? No, they just have our assets. That's literally what's going on. Are we going to back up Israel? We should. We have an agreement with Israel. But I'd like to also point out that Trump said, hey, I don't think it's a good idea to do this. And Israel did it anyway because we're not brother and sister. We're just friends. And sometimes friends have disagreements. And it's kind of what's going on. But that doesn't mean you don't have your friends back in the end because we need them just as much as they need us. And I said that because they do things for us that we can't get anywhere else, and nobody else will provide us what Israel does.
Well, that's what. All right. So I was trying to send a link to somebody, but I'll get into it later. Or at least the link. I Israel provides us with a level of intelligence that we couldn't have without them. So they're best friends. And I told you I was thinking about making a funny video name, best friends, with Trump and Bibi Netanyahu. Bibi Netanyahu is also, they live in a populist government. We currently have a populist regime in charge, right? We got Donald Trump as he's a Democrat, who said on Oprah in the 1980s he would run as a Democrat and win. Right, you got in his cabinet, you got Kennedy, Democrat. You've got like Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat. Elon Musk, Democrat. This is we're also living in a popular government. I want to fix that later, but I'm not really focused on that tonight. I'm focused on the people that are on social media that are screaming. Um, I thought you said no new wars, and this is not a new war. Trump has not broken a promise here.
Well, not only are we not in a war yet, but this is a war that would not have happened if Biden didn't release the sanctions on Iran. If Biden had kept the sanctions on Iran, we wouldn't be in this situation. October wouldn't have happened a year ago, a year and a half ago. We would have been fine if we would have kept it like it was. So this is just cleanup, basically, and we're not even actually in it, but it is a cleanup. Even if it does happen, it was happening before. Are we involved in it? By de facto, we kind of are because we kind of caused it to happen by releasing the sanctions on Iran. And believe me, that's exactly what happened. A year and a little bit after Biden released sanctions on Iran and let them go nice and easy and let them start making money again is when October 7th happened in Israel. If we would have just left it alone, everything would just still be right where it is when Trump left it. And I'm not saying it was a good place. I'm not saying it was a fair place, but it was under control. And that's where I kind of want to leave it on that. Trump Trump left us in a spot. Biden got us into a spot, and this isn't a new war, even if it does turn into one. It's just something that was left over, like the Ukraine and Russia. That's not a new war. That's one that we actively participated in, making sure one side had better uh, monies and weapons than the other side.
All right, so I guess we should probably, and that's fair. I think we should get into that. So Ukraine versus Russia. Uh, was Ukraine using their best equipment? No, and I'm gonna tell you, we'll do this again with Paul at some point in time, maybe Monday. They're just spending Cold War era stuff. And they were slow grinding this. And then you saw this attack from Ukraine using very modern technology. This stuff me and Paul have talked about this for a long time, probably 3 years. This is modern war, not the video game. This it's gonna be small attack drones. It's not gonna be bodies in trenches like World War One style. And you saw it used in Ukraine, like in Russia by Ukraine. So again, you got to look back to our State Department and our CIA and our intelligence. And listen, they're friends, very friendly with also CIA, or sorry, MI6, Mossad, with lots of other intelligence. And then you see it again with Israel was able to do the same thing. So this isn't just this. You could blame the United States. I'm gonna say, yeah, they're probably partially guilty, but this was a collaboration of intel that was able to make this happen, both in Russia and in Iran.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and and you're right. We've seen all over social media some of the people that are I want to say less than honest with their motivations that are saying we didn't vote for this. This is it. We I didn't vote for this. Absolutely, what we voted for is happening. There's no new war. This is not new. And anybody that wants to say anything, you can go back to 2005 when this kind of started when Israel moved people out of Gaza in their home, moved them over, and moved everybody that was in Gaza because Israel owned Gaza in 2005. And in 2005, they gave that to the Palestinians. And by the way, the Palestinians, they're not even in Gaza anymore. No, nobody's really in Gaza anymore. And these guys have worked really hard to make sure that they haven't been involving the people as much as they could. Are there casualties? Yes, it's a war. Um, Israel's been really good. In fact, with all of the conflicts that Israel has, of all the countries that have been in wars, which Israel is always in a war, Israel has the least amount of civilian casualties than any other country. So when a civilian casualty does happen, we notice it. But they are the country with the least amount of civilian casualties, and they work hard to make sure that they don't have this going on. So when people now look at it, and the fact that we're backing up the country with the least amount of civilian casualties ever than any other country, well, what are we looking at? Well, any other modern country. What are we actually looking at? We're just backing up a friend and we haven't done anything. We're not in a war. They were actively in a war. They've been in a war since they moved to Jerusalem, since they moved to Tel Aviv, since that became an Israel state, they have been in wars. And they're surrounded by enemies, literally surrounded. And we can argue that point all we want. How wise was it for them to move back to where they came from? I don't know. That's up to them, but that's their home, and that's what they call it. And they love their home. And what are we going to do? It's literally what are we going to do? It's their home. We're going to back up their friends, and we don't just give them stuff. We don't just give them money. We get something in return, and we get a lot in return. You're on mute. Oh,
Yeah,
there
we
you
get
go.
a lot in return. Sorry,
Absolutely.
we get a lot in return, and we mostly intelligence. The Mossad is incredible at what they do with intelligence and what they do. Uh, Here's the issue. All right. So this whole thing, I like. Well, why we're live is because I'm responding to all of the people on social media who are saying, "Your guy." They're supposed to be these big MAGA accounts, and they have a lot of followers. They really do. And they're like, all of a sudden, I see today, mostly through today and into tonight, I thought you said no new wars. Well, who started a war? It wasn't Trump.
It wasn't Trump. No, I mean,
He didn't
and they're
start a new war.
but they're acting like Trump went out there and made this happen. That's what they're doing. Now, you can say no new wars, but if Japan, hold on, listen for a second, because we know Japan's not going to. But if Japan just decided to start flying planes over into Los Angeles and dive bombing them and suicide bombing, would that be a new war that Trump got us into? If just Japan just decided all of a sudden just to do that? No, it would be a retaliation, and it's not even that's not happening. We're not there. We're just literally trying to defend another country. By the way, we defend a lot of countries. We don't defend Israel. We defend a lot of countries. And all these people that are saying, I can't believe you're doing this, and Trump said this, but the United States spends a lot of money and gives a lot of weapons to other countries so they can protect themselves. And we've helped them. Is that a new war? No, we're just going, you know what? We're going to even the odds.
That's where I'm at, and thank you for pointing that out. So I want to get into the difference between a war and air defense. Let's just start there. Just supply, like just supplying air defense. Like in so would you say, oh, you're probably what are you guys shooting missiles off your battleships? I'm gonna go, yeah, probably. But I'm also gonna go Patriot missile defense systems. These things, it's the Iron Dome, but the second level of it. It's not the Golden Dome that Trump is building out with Pete Hegseth, but it is even better than the Iron Dome. And what happened? What is wrong with protecting citizens that are friends with us from being bombed from above by using our technology, the Patriot missile battery system, to eliminate threats? That's not a new war to me. And I see so many MAGA influencers screaming, Trump said no new wars. We're not in a war. We are not in a war. Israel is conducting operations. You can call it a war if you want, but that war has been going on for 100 years. And every time the Muslims build up an arsenal, they fire it at Israel. And Israel puts it down. And then 8 to 10 years later, it happens again. This is not new. I'm just, Cass, I'm really upset with the MAGA influencers that are trying to piss everybody off about Trump when he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. So what if we saved lives? We literally saved lives by using air defense systems from both naval ships and Patriot missile systems. How is that a war? How did we start a war?
Well, that's exactly it. Now, I'm going to say this quiet part out loud is a lot of the people that are MAGA and not MAGA influencers. So if you're a MAGA influencer and if this hits home, this is your fault. I've never made a dime off of my beliefs and what I believe in Trump. I've never made a dime off of it. These MAGA influencers are now finding out that it's not popular because people are going, "Oh, Trump started a war, so are they going to turn on him?" Maybe if that's what they're looking for is the dollar, if they're not really Trump supporters, that's what they're saying because that's all that's happening. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I don't know if I'm going to get canceled. I don't even really care. The point is,
Yeah.
I've never made a dollar from it. I've never made a dime. And some of these people got rich and are making a living off of influencing, and the ones that are doing it are the ones that are saying they said no new wars because you're right. This is not a war. This is not even something that's ours. If it turns into something, we can get to that point when it gets to something. But we didn't do it, and we didn't start anything, and we're not in a war. We're not in a war. We're
I
our assets are still in the same place as when Biden was there. They're just rearranged, but we've always had assets there, always. So we're not in a new war, and we can't let our friends just get beat up. You know, I'm a firm believer. You can let your little brother get beat up for a little while, and then you got to step in and go. That's enough. That's enough. He took enough beating, and then stop it. And that's literally all that's happening.
well, in this, if that's a great observation. Look at it this way: America itself has not made any attacks on Iran or anybody else, Russia. But we're specifically talking about what's going on tonight and last night. America hasn't made any attacks on anybody. All they've done is provided defense to save human lives, right? Listen. There's even mid-sized accounts that are like, and I don't get it. They're posting, yeah, no new wars. This isn't what we voted for. And I'm going to say to them, yeah, we absolutely voted to save the West from Islam. We absolutely did. Come at me, block me. I don't care. This is like this is a well, it's clearly a religious war, but it's also a war of morality, and Trump isn't taking the bait. Trump isn't going in and glassing Iran. He's not. Now, will he let Israel do what it needs to do to defend itself? Yes. And has he made it clear that, yes, he's aware of what Israel's war plans are? Uh, he said that out loud. Yes, but it's not a war. It's not a war. Like, I don't know why everybody thinks a military attack is a new war, Cass. Why do they do that?
Well, that's the big question we got to ask. I mean, and some of the stuff you just said is very very important. Um, is this a war on the East and the West? Absolutely. We're the West. We're the ones that have been. We've kind of. This is literally what we've been fighting for, and it's not even in the United States that we've seen it. I've seen MAGA in the UK. I've seen MAGA in Germany. I've seen MAGA in look at Poland. Look at some of the places out there that are starting to stand with Trump. We've got MAGA in Australia. There are MAGA everywhere because there's something going on and people are just wanting it to stop. Because we're not saying anything and we're trying to be PC and let it happen. And those of us that are watching it happen are saying, we don't want this to happen. I don't want to just let it happen. I like my way of life that I have now. If you don't like it, go stay on your side of the sandbox. But this is my place. And this is where I want to be. And other countries have gotten to that point where they let it happen and they don't like what's happening and they want to step away. And that's why they have MAGA. And why do we have Australian MAGAs? They're as far away from us as we can possibly get. Why do we have MAGAs in the UK? Why do we have MAGA in Poland? I mean, we're looking at this literally. We've got countries that are leaving the EU and leaving what's going on because they don't want to be a part of that anymore. They're becoming MAGA. And it's not even just making America great. It's just, let's go back to being what we had 30 years ago.
Right. So, while they're going MAGA, they're also going country first. And they want MAGA because MAGA was the free leader of the world, right? Ever since World War II ended. And they just want to follow in footsteps. This is my personal belief. But they also want to be independent of the European Union. Not that they don't want to be friends. Like, and that's what everyone is missing when it comes to this European Union thing with Poland, with Hungary, and then you could go to South America. You can go to you can go to other places with Javier Milei, with Bolsonaro, right? And they're like, no, this potentially could be game changing shift in removing UN from our life, United Nations, which it's a money laundering operation. They need to go, and then also resetting NATO and removing those countries that I just talked about, removing them from NATO, or with the threat of removing U.S. funding, because U.S. I don't care about this GDP 2% thing. The U.S. literally pays for NATO. What's up, Canuck? How you doing? Oh man.
Oh,
Just
I'm
got
Um,
glad
off.
you're here. I was
Hey,
going to pick
yes,
on you next, but you weren't here.
So, listen, let me get you up to speed, because obviously, me and Kez can go forever, and we're not going to go forever on this. It's a pop up podcast. Tell me about Iran. I want to get into like church mode. Tell me about Iran and Israel. And how long ago was it that Israel was actually a Christian nation called Persia?
well, actually, you know what? It was a Christian nation in the 70s. You don't have to go back that far to Persia. You know that, right?
I do, but I
Uh
I, I want to lay some history
oh.
out for
I think
people who are going to watch this. Can you lay that out? A little bit of history about how we got there, which I know this, that the our State
he,
Department
guess he
totally.
froze or I froze.
You froze. You
Yeah,
froze. So
yeah.
our
Can you hear me
State
now?
Department totally.
History. I can do the history. Uh,
Yeah, our
you
State
guys there?
Department totally
Uh oh.
overthrew the last Persian. We lost him. The end of the Persian Empire, and brought in the mullahs. The Persians were a Christian. Hopefully, we'll get him back up. But Iran used to be a very Christian country. It was called Persia. Persia was actually a bigger territory than it is now.
So I want to. I don't know if I don't know how well this is going to go over. I just pulled up on my phone because I remember growing up looking at women in Persia, not in Persia, but women of Iran when I was young, and I remember when things changed, and it was a very small time. But I just want to point out these are literally Google image searches of women of Iran in 1970.
Yeah, yeah, show it. Yes,
I
right.
mean, look, these are the
Not in
women.
full headdress, not in full body length dress.
But look, this is the one that got me right here is the Iranian woman in front of a car because they could drive. Look at and the other one in a bikini type thing. The they had pictures of Iranian women on different magazines when I was a little kid, like a very young kid, in bikinis, and I remember this. The Iranian culture wasn't like it was today. It changed, and it changed in a very short period of time. So from the 1970s to the 1980s, everything changed, and that was who they brought into power. And that's what's going on everywhere. It happened very drastically in Iran because you had women in bikinis going to the beach, going to
Oh
school,
yeah,
thriving, having careers,
listening to the Beach Boys, listening
listening
to
to
the
the Beach Boys.
Beatles.
Rest in peace, Brian Wilson. But absolutely, and now they're in full hijab, and it's they can't they can't go anywhere. You can't drive. You can't do anything. You have to be subservient to your husband. And this is not, I think, what they voted for. And in fact, I read something today that only 20% of the population actually wants the power in Iran to stay in power.
All right, so Edward, we're bringing you back up to speed. Can you hear us? You look locked.
Yeah, it's too cold up there.
Uh, oh man, we did a lot of work. We got him new technology. We got him all fixed. It's gotta be his.
There
Oh,
he
there he,
is.
I see him moving. All right,
Oh,
Edward, can you jump in here? So, we
I'm
listen.
here.
We've traveled a long ways, but all right. So, Iran, formerly Persia, turned into Iran mostly through the U.S. State Department, allowing them to Islamify Iran and de-Christianize the place. Yes, no?
Yes, the Muslim movement. The Muslims overtook them. Can you hear me?
I
yes.
can hear you.
All
You're good.
right.
Yeah, we got you leaving Charlie.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I you froze before. One of us did. I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah, you go back to the like I said, the 70s, and the Muslims just overtook them. It overtook a lot of those Middle Eastern countries. I mean, what's the Lebanon, Jordan,
Syria, Lebanon, Jordan. Yeah.
so many, just and they were Christian. Now they're all Muslims. So and much to the chagrin of the populace as well. A lot of people didn't want that to happen, but they really have no choice. It's just like communism moved in, i.e., Muslims, and hey, you're out. So they just had to toe the line of the government that is now there, and here we are. So yeah, it's a clown show,
So
and
what? Thank
with
you, and we're gonna beg of you more questions on this. But what we were talking about is this is not a war. We saw so many today and yesterday MAGA influencers saying this is no new wars. I didn't vote for this. And this isn't a war. This is if the United States put some Patriot missile batteries, air defense systems in, and also uses some battleships to blow up rockets inbound to kill civilians, to kill human lives that are not military. They're calling like these MAGA influencers are calling it a war. What are your thoughts?
you know what? I haven't really followed the news in the last couple of days. The last I heard, I think it was yesterday, there was a bombing, and I think there was a retaliation. I'm not sure from Iran's part. I didn't really get the full story. I don't know, but all I can say is they were asking for it. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm kidding.
We're good.
But they
Very good.
were. Israel is the only small little country in the center of all that Muslim activity, and they just want to be left alone. But of course, Muslims being what they are, just they won't do it. They can't do it. No, they just can't stay put and just stay out of everybody else's business. Oh no, they even want to invade the West, as you're seeing today for yourselves. Let alone just those countries around there. So yeah, that just
Well, so all
we
right, so
see
for
the
a
evidence before our very eyes.
all right, from a religious standpoint, what's the goal of Muslimhood?
What's that?
From a religious standpoint? What's the goal of Muslimhood?
Well, to take over all countries in the world, to overtake the entire world. That's always been their main objective.
For what? For Allah? For
Well, yeah, I guess you could say for Allah, I suppose, which would be, Allah aka Satan. That's just what the name really gets to is Satan, but they won't come out and tell you that. Everybody's worshiping a god, and I was foolish enough when I was younger thinking that we all worship God, but we don't worship the same gods. Everybody has their own gods. I mean, there's Christianity, then there's the Catholics, and there's this, there's that. Then you get into the old Eastern, old wise sage ones, the philosophies of the East, like Buddha and blah, blah, blah. And then you get the East Indians. There's,
Why aren't wait,
with
wait,
the
wait, wait,
real.
wait? I got a time out right there. Why is the people, the Hindus or the people who believe in Buddhism, why are they not warfaring in the way that Muslims are?
What do you mean? Why aren't they warfaring? They did. They had them in Pakistan. Well, Pakistan is broken off from India. Back in the
Pakistan's
50s.
always been Muslim.
No, I don't think they have been Muslim. They're a different type of religion. I can't remember even what it is now, but it's not Hindu. I know that, which I thought the majority of India today is Hindu, not Muslim. Maybe the Pakistanians are. I don't know them. But let me get my vape because you're smoking. I'm just going to be back in 1 second. Remember, I just got off work. I haven't
Well,
shaved
no, we appreciate. Dude,
my
this
face.
is a pop-up podcast. We're talking about stuff. I'll go back to Cass.
Well,
Cass, you
there's
want to throw anything in there?
there's something I wanted to say. So Hindi is a very popular religion in India,
Uh-huh.
and so is Christianity. But Muslim is the number one religion in India. The
Is
difference
it?
is, yes,
Oh, okay.
absolutely, and there's
Wow.
a lot of countries that have Muslim as their religion. The difference is the extremism. It's kind of like is a Catholic a Christian? It's the same kind of belief, but are they?
Right.
But it's
I'm
the
picking
same
out.
sort of thing. So the
Yeah.
Muslims have extremism in the same way. So a lot of Indians are Muslim. The religion, that's like the number one religion in India is Muslim. Hindi and Christianity are there, but it's not as big as the Muslim religion is. And there's
Okay.
a lot of countries that have Muslim religions. It's just how they profess it and what's going on.
Well,
Like
yeah.
my doctor, I go to my doctor. My doctor's a Muslim. My doctor's just not a Muslim that's gonna go taking anything out.
Yet.
She's happy with what she's got. She likes who she is. She doesn't try and say anything, and she doesn't even profess it. I've seen it because I know what certain things that there's like
It,
the moon and the sun.
Cass, I gotta jump in there. That's a non-practicing Muslim then. Just like a non-practicing Christian.
Well, there's
That's a
bad
not like
Christians
your
and good Christians.
doctor.
Yeah.
Like if they actually were practicing, would want to kill you because Intifada,
Well, yeah.
you're not believing in Allah.
And you're commanded to kill all the infidels anyways. That's just your job, your part. So and if you didn't, they're going to kill you anyways if you refuse that. So yeah, you're either with us or against us. So yeah, that's very true. But yeah, you have good Muslims, bad Muslims. You have ones that do kind of follow it, to a T, and then the extremists are the ones who are just doing what the religion tells them to do. That's not being extreme. It's just doing. That's just following the book. Like Christians, some of them, just go to church on Christmas and Easter and really don't go in the doors. So you got good Christians and bad Christians or practicing ones. It's the same in all religions, I guess. But yeah, you have to be honest and follow the Muslim or the Islamic faith the way they say. Then yeah, you're killing everybody that's against them or not a Muslim.
That's what I was saying. It's like I got a friend, and the only time I remember he's Catholic every year. Knock it off. The only time I remember he's Catholic every year is around Easter. He doesn't get a hamburger. He gets the fish sandwich.
Catholics. That's hilarious.
So,
Catholics are not
he gets
Christian.
the dot on his head.
Screw it. We did a pop-up podcast. Catholics are not Christian. They're not.
No, I was just saying.
And
I know they're
Edward and
not
I
Christian.
have talked about this. Cass,
I know they're not
Christian.
Christian. I know they're not Christian. I was just using the Catholic and the Christian because you have the Catholics. Oh, I'm Catholic. I go on Christmas, and at Easter I get the thing, and I eat fish on
Breaking
Friday
up
instead of
and
hamburgers.
going in and out. I can't
Oh, we're
hear.
losing. Oh, we're losing the
Oh
audio.
You just
man, we
broke it
gotta
up.
get. All right. Well,
Both guys are.
Edward, no, we're still rolling. We're live. I will talk to you about technology issues and your router later. But you got a new computer. You should be fine. But Cass, holy moly! I didn't want to open up that can of worms. I want to go back to
Let's go back. Let's go back.
Iran. I want to go back to Iran. Iran. Want to become an empire. They think they're an empire, and they're Muslim. They're like so. If everybody's listening and they're just normally listening to the news, and you hear the word extremist, they are extremists. They live in poverty. They do a lot of awful things to goats. And outside of Tehran, they're third world. Inside of Tehran, all of the technology that you're seeing they're using to shoot missiles into Israel or anywhere else, all that technology comes from China. And how do they pay for that? Oil, cheap, cheap, cheap oil. That's how they pay for that. So the technology, and everyone's going to go, well, but I thought China wasn't good at war. Well, they're not good at war, but they're good at technology because they steal things. They steal intellectual property. That's where we're at. Holy crap! Are you
Correct.
back, Edward?
Yeah. Can you see and hear me now?
I can't, dude. Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow, sometime in the middle of the day. Your
All right.
computer's fine. It's your internet connection. We were
Uh,
live the whole time. We'll
oh,
fix it. Don't worry. We'll fix it.
okay.
You
All right.
know you know I can help you with that.
Thank goodness, because I can't help myself.
Well, I want to get back to this whole, it's not a war. This whole battle between Israel and Iran again is a religious battle. It's also a cultural battle. And it used to be a place called Iran, or sorry, Persia, but the United States, I'm going to blame some of this on them, was involved in a regime change to install the mullahs to make it more American friendly, which clearly didn't happen. And
No.
I get issues with this. Again, I'm going with the premise. This is not a war, Edward. This is just people being stupid.
Well, I don't even know exactly all that happened because I didn't follow the news, but you got to know that this has been going on for quite some time, decades now. This isn't just a new thing. And I like to say that, to be multicultural is not a good thing. To being multi ethnic, that is a good thing. America's that. Canada's that. They want us to be multicultural, and that never worked. You cannot have a multicultural society. You can have a multi ethnic society, that will work. America's been doing that, but you can't go multicultural because it won't work. You all have to morph into that one society and be American. You cannot be an American and still be a Muslim at the same time, holding those same values because, well, they'll kill the Americans, of course, because that's their culture. So you can't do that. So that's why I say culture does not mix, but ethnicity does. You can be, all these ethnic groups. You can be multi-ethnic. You just can't be multicultural. That's been the biggest lie they've told the West, I'm going to say for the last 20, 30 years, we all have to be multicultural. No, we do not, and it won't work. We can be
So
multi-ethnic.
what you're saying is Cubs fans and Yankees fans would probably get along if they didn't know they were Cubs fans and Yankees fans. No, I'm teasing. Cass, jump in here because what Edward said was
Yeah.
super important. You can't, you
So,
cannot have a culture or a religion co-intermingle.
I'm
Correct.
going to 100% agree with you on that. And here's why. The American and people go, America has no culture. No, literally America is made up of every flippin' culture out there.
Protestants.
We're literally everything. Look, on
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter on March 17th, everybody's St. Patrick's Day. Everybody's Irish. We don't care. And it's what we do.
I
And we
love that.
celebrate everything. On Cinco de Mayo, we all have nachos and drink margaritas. That's what
Love
we're
that too.
supposed to do. And that's what makes America great is we're not our culture is the amalgam of every other culture out there. We are all of the cultures, but we are American. We
Yeah,
are
because
Yankee.
you follow a constitution, not a culture. You follow a constitution where you're all thinking, believing, and following that same constitution, which makes you an American. You know, so you can't be a Muslim and follow that constitution because it follows a Christian God type of thing, and Muslims won't put up with that. That is their job to get rid of that. And many that's just not them. There's many other cultures that think and do the same, but we just can't look at because it's front and center right now. I could do a TED talk on this, but because it's right in our faces today, we're going to use them as the example. They're going to be the example because they're most opposite to how the West is. So therefore, we have to use them as an example. They're opposite of
Cass,
us.
jump back in there. Yeah,
So-
Cass, go.
So let me show you an example. So in the even as late as the 1970s, 1960s, people hated the Irish and they hated the Italians, and they passed for white people. They literally, if you were an Irish, you were called a myth.
Time out. They hated them so much they considered them subhuman. Like
Absolutely.
slaves, like black slaves.
In the
Right?
70s? I didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Huh.
That's when things started to turn different was in the 70s, but it was all the way up until the 70s, and that was part of the civil rights movement when Dr. Martin Luther King says judge a person, listen very carefully. Martin Luther King says judge a person by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. That is what is important. That is the thing that Martin Luther King stood for. That is the person that I admire.
Yeah.
That is the movement that I admire. I don't admire when people say Martin Luther King stood for black people. Absolutely not. That is a lie. He stood for everybody. And along with that
Correct.
is the Irish and the Italians. There's certain things that you can say. You can't say certain words because they're slur words, but you can say Mick. You can call somebody a Mick, and that was a slur. You can call somebody a wop, and that was a slur. And a wop was an Italian without papers. The Italians were not welcome here. They were not welcome here. And so if you were an Italian and you came here, you were here without papers. And what's important is that these people changed the culture by becoming part of the American culture. We literally have Italians and Irish that are here in the United States that are just part of the United States. We don't have a big thing against the Irish anymore because they're just a part of America. The Italians are part of America. And you'll have proud Italians out there and proud Irish out there, but they're Americans. They're not
Yep.
Irish.
Yeah.
And that's the important part. So when we are Americans, we are part of everything and we accept it, and that's a part of our culture. And that's literally what no other place has. Because you said it. In Iran, you had Christianity and that went away, and you had Muslim, and that's when everything changed. Here in the United States, you can have a certain amount of that until you get like what we've got going on in Minnesota, where you've got a bunch of people up there that hate America, and have voted in somebody who's not even American because she's representing another country's beliefs. This isn't lies. This is all facts. You can check me out on that. But you can literally check it out that here in the top part of Minnesota, you have somebody that wants a different culture here and isn't willing to blend in. And that's what we get with everything. And there's always rough spots when we accept new cultures into our culture, and we take that a part of our own.
Yeah.
We had the Vietnamese come over and the Koreans come over
The
in the
rooftop
70s.
Koreans right now are teeing off, and listen. There's a couple of them that have X accounts, and they're like, if you need us to come to service, we will come to service because they totally believe in the American culture that
Absolutely.
gave them freedom and liberty. And they're like, yeah, we're in our 70s and we'll totally come back to service and be rooftop Koreans again. And Gavin Newsom is a piece of shit.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's a lot. So listen, when Trump said they're eating the cats, I'm not trying to get too far into this, but we had a huge population of people that came over. They were eating the cats. It wasn't a big thing, but it happened in the 70s and 80s. But here's what happened. They became Americanized and they said, somebody came up and said, no, you can't do that. These are pets. You have to change your ways. And they went, really? And they changed their ways. Did they? Yes, absolutely that happened. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's something that happened, but we turned them into Americans. Now we have Koreans and we have Vietnamese that are here that came over. They were boat people. That's what we called them. We're boat people when they first got here. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's PC. That's what we called them back in the 70s and 80s, but they were boat people. And when they came here, they became Americans. We go golfing together now. We go to the same barbecue places. We drink the same beer. We have Americans, and they
Uh-huh.
have a culture that we can enjoy also, and we share that, and that's what makes us Americans.
I gotta interject here. I've noticed a massive amount of halal food, which is Muslim food. It's in America
Yeah.
now, and it's just a staple. And I actually have a problem with that because that's not Muslims becoming Americanized. That's Muslims taking
And,
over. Like they're just coming in to America and saying, "Nope, we're here," and that's not what like when I don't know, Pramila Jayapal or any of these other congressmen or senators say, we're a melting pot. No, we're not. We're not. We've never been a melting pot. What people wanted to do was come into the United States to live the American dream, and not take over us. Now we're seeing, and I'm telling you, food carts, restaurants, they're just like fuck you. We're here. We're proud. We're queer. We're Israel, or
Yeah.
we're Iran, or we're like, go fuck yourselves.
We're American. That's what we need to
Well,
be.
we should be American.
But we
And
should.
so
You're
when
right.
I see all these senators or Congress, men and women, say, "Oh, we're a melting pot." No, we were a melting pot until you guys fucked it up with immigration
right.
laws.
That's true. Yeah. And that halal food that you talked about, that the stuff that's been sacrificed and worshipped, and then has no pork in it. That's what they mean by that. You don't have to sacrifice your food to anything for me. I mean, you're not doing anything really. And you may think you are, but I don't care. Say prayers and sacrifice it in front of a wooden sculpture idol. I mean, that's what you think is going to do something. I know it doesn't. You're just praying to a stick. To me, I don't care. The no pork thing, Jews have been doing that now for how many hundreds of years, in America. That's not, you don't have to
I'm not.
choose.
I'm not even mad at the Jews for doing that, but they're missing out on the
But the
Bacon.
Jews
incredible.
don't.
They're missing out on the incredible thing that bacon gives to you in the
Oh,
morning. I'm talking about mostly this is from Islam and Hindi who hate the swallow, right? The pork that swallows in the dirt. God, I wish we could keep a solid single with him. because he's so knowledgeable about this shit.
He's
Edward,
very, very wise about it. But
he's
it's
super
a good thing
wise.
he's frozen because I would never say that to his face.
All right.
Oh, did he hear that?
Oh, we can at least hear him.
Oh,
Dude, you
I
can
hope he
come
didn't
into
hear that.
phone only if you want.
I didn't want to give him any credit for that.
How they get unfrozen? How does he keep doing
Well,
that?
you're unfrozen right now. Tell me
I
about
know.
why the fuck do people hate bacon?
Well, it's a Jewish thing in the
Is
the
it a
Muslims have
Jewish thing, or is it also an Islamic thing?
well, they copied off the Jews. That's one of their things. You have to go back in the beginning of the whole premise of Islam to understand where they got most of this stuff from. So it's a long history lesson. You know?
All right, so where?
And I don't know if
All right, I'll try a. So, like, we're looking at like the what 1400s. Shit, did you cancel out again? In the 1400s,
yeah,
about where Islam started.
Did it start before? No, it was before that, right?
I don't think it did. Edward, when did Islam, like the actual religion, actually? Wasn't it about the 1400s?
yes.
Oh, I know there was a
No,
king.
450 AD.
Okay, 450. Who was that?
And we're losing him. I know there was a king in the Middle East. I believe it was Persia, and
Are you
I cannot remember his name right now. It's something that I read, so I don't even know if it's true or not. But there was a king where we supposedly had Christians and Muslims and every religion all rule under the same king, and it was a utopia. It was a Garden of Eden, so to speak, where
It was
everybody.
Persia. That was
Yes,
Persia.
yes, and it was the king of Persia, and I can't remember what his name is right now. But we got Edward back. Edward, go. Do we have Edward
Yeah,
back?
talk while you can, because we'll fix your internet tomorrow.
I didn't hear any of the conversation. I
Who
heard
was
nothing
the
of the
king?
conversation,
Who
so I
who
don't even know
was
what I'm
the
voting on.
who was the? All right, so Persia. We're talking about Persia, which was a Christian
Uh-huh.
nation up until they installed the mullahs in the what was it
Are we going
97,
back to like?
98?
Are you going back to when Persia overtook Babylon? Is that how far you go? Like how far you going back with the
Yeah,
history here?
yeah. We're looking at like Persia was a Christian kingdom, and that was the conversation we're having. Yes, correct.
Yeah, well, because yeah, the Magi, uh, that carried over from Babylon into Persia, where it's that group of people that elect the kings. So that's where most of this stuff comes from, the very body or center of these cultures. That's where we get the word magistrate from today. That's the ruling class, the governing body, the magi. So when you hear, the Christmas story, the supposed three kings, which it was a huge entourage of hundreds and hundreds, thousands of horses and men, going to see the new king. And that's why it unnerved Herod so much, because those two factions are always warring at each other. Anyways, long story short, we're getting to the Parthians later on, but that's just another part of the story. Anyways, yeah, that the Christianity came from that what Daniel looked after, was ahead of, and that just carried over into, and that's how they knew, the Persians knew that this new king was going to be born from that elect few from Daniel. 400 years later, they must have been talking about that for quite some time, and had these writings, because you knew the time and the date to go there, let alone just that star. So it was no accident they got there. Anyways, it's a long history lesson. But there's so many
Like this is the stuff that fascinates me. Let me ask you a question that I know you say you don't want to go into it, but
If we
when
had a better
did
connection, maybe.
when hold on, when did the Muslims, and I know specifically that intelligence departments like the CIA, State Department, created this. When did the intelligence departments give away Persia to the mullahs?
Well, but again, you have to go back to you go back to the 15, 16, 1400s. You go back to 1100. You go back to 1050, 1090, when the Muslims had overtaken Europe and had knocked out 30,000 Christian churches. Uh, Back in those days, all you had was church bells going and whatnot in churches. They wiped out 30,000 in 1 year. That's a lot of churches to go in 1 year. And then, of course, as you know, with the Richard the Lionheart and the, what do they call it? I even forget the name of it now. The Holy Wars,
Oh, the
getting
Crusades, the Holy
the
Wars.
Crusades, taking the land back from what the Muslims had taken from them,
That
which
chick
really
wasn't
probably,
even a Christian. Well, I mean, maybe she was, but that
what's that?
part wasn't. That chick wasn't even. All right. The Crusades. The chick wasn't a Christian. She was a Catholic.
What chick are you talking about for the Crusades? Like Richard the Lionheart was a king. He was a
Yeah.
man. He was a man.
Oh, yeah. See, again, history has been changed. I can't remember the name of the chick. It will come
You
to
mean like
me.
Joan of Arc type of thing?
Joan of Arc. Yeah, Joan of
That
Arc.
was
Yeah.
only like a few hundred, 400 years ago. That was not. I'm going back like 1,500 years
Yeah,
ago.
but right, but
2000.
the people that want to speak of Christianity's evil go to the Joan of Arc Crusades. And you and I have already had this conversation, but we'll go ahead and have it again. That wasn't Christian. That wasn't Christian Crusades.
There was so much politics going on back then that people don't know, because the Catholic Church changed so much in the 1500s, the 15th century. So much it was changed by that first pope. What was his name again? I
Wasn't
can't
it
remember his name.
Leo?
Gregory. No,
Oh,
Gregory,
Gregory. That's right.
very first one. And in 1525, when he made those new rules, well, when Martin Luther introduced, that, paper, the famous, paper he pinned to the church doors, in fear of losing his head. Now, this guy was like a bishop type of thing, so he was a Catholic. But he said, no, you've gone too far this time. All these new laws and regulations you brought in, like, the infallibility of the Pope, and the what's the I forget the other ones there with purgatory. I can't think of the exact name of all the sacraments, but anyways, with the sacraments that they brought in, all that foolishness that they follow today was from him. So but before that, it was more akin to more what Christianity was. Some changes because they still had the child baptism, which he never got that changed, so they still carry on with that, which is ridiculous in itself. Because what's that doing? You don't have freedom of choice when you're a baby. You don't even know what's going on. What's the point? But that's Catholicism for you, because they have to bring you into the church to make money off you, and this is where we start with that going on now. It's all about the money until it's not about the money, which means it's always about the money because it's never not about the money.
Oh, 100%. So, we'll move forward a little bit. So, then let's get into the Protestants, the
Right.
Protestants,
Yeah.
right? Who were they didn't want to be under the Church of the King, they didn't want to be under the Catholic Church, and they definitely didn't want anything to do with Allah. And so they
Yeah.
started fleeing. And this was, let's look at the after death years of like 1500s into the 1600s, which is way before when America started. But they were fleeing, so they fled to a lot of countries that you would know now. But they were fleeing. They didn't want anything to do with it. And then they finally get a chance to go to the New World. And you and I've had good conversations about this. Most of America was built by Presbyterians, but they were also Protestants,
Yeah.
Protestants,
Well, we had to
right?
be because remember, as Kes was saying back about the Muslim invasions, and we were talking about that too. Spain had changed its name because they had captured and basically changed the name of Spain. I can't remember the name they changed to. It was predominantly all Muslim, like all. So it was taken back again by the, you want to say Protestants or Protestants as we pronounce it, but that's what it was. We were in protest of the shenanigans going on in the church and what was around it. And like I said, we had to run away, but we couldn't go, east because of the Muslims. We had to go west. And so that's why Christopher Columbus went west because he couldn't go east. Everything was taken over by the Muslims. And so it was west, young man. And that's where he went and ended up in where? America. So this is where we are and why we are. And it's interesting that even America's first war, the very first war America fought, was against the Muslims. And he asked, "Why are you offending us and warring with us? We haven't done a thing to you." But that's what he said. Because that's in our book. We have to. That's us. If you're an infidel, we have to. That's just our job. It's who we are. So, yeah, the very first war, look that up. When America first became a nation, they were fighting the Muslims way back then. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. I mean, that's not the first
Yes.
time we've been around this.
Thoughts?
We've been around this many times already. So,
Right? No, I totally agree. Kess? Or, sorry, Kess, thoughts?
Guess is back. Guess. Oh,
Oh, he's muted. He'll have to
he muted his
unmute.
mic.
We're back. I had to go yell at the dogs. Sorry, they were
Absolutely.
somebody walked by the house or something. I don't know.
Well, you
But
are in LA just ago, right? So,
no, when it comes to this topic, I mostly just kind of listen to what you guys talk about. My religious beliefs are a little bit different. I'm not crazy. I'm not a wackadoo. I believe a little bit different. But I love. I grew up very much Christian in the Christian church, and that's where my beliefs started. I just don't go to church. I talk to God in my way, and my way is always like, I've been working all night, and God's been, I've been working all night, maybe a couple days in a row. I'm tired, and I'm thinking, how am I going to keep going? And what I found works for me is, I'm just sitting there, and then the sun's starting to come up, and maybe I remember this. There was a day that this happened. The steam was just rising up off of my body because I'm working so hard and I'm soaking wet from the storm. And the sun's coming up, and I've got this beautiful, beautiful sunrise starting to pop up. And I'm working, and I just stop for a minute, and that to me is when I'm in church because I'm just out there. It's just me and the big guy upstairs, and we're doing our thing, and it's just him talking to me, and that's it. That's my church. That's when I talk to God. That's when I commune with God the most.
that's
Or
nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying anything of the sort. That's still good.
so
Very
that's so when
wish
we
more
talk
people would
about
do that.
when we talk about the other thing, I've studied a bunch of different kinds of religion, and I've studied a bunch of different things. I had to go find because I was questioned. I questioned God, and I think that's natural that everybody should do that. And my
Oh yeah.
relationship with God is just much different than a lot of other people. And here's the thing: I don't condemn anybody for their belief in God. That's up to you. 'Cause in the end, I know when I'm sitting there with God and we're talking to people that are coming up, going, "This is not what I thought." we're all going to think the same thing. Because I don't think we can imagine what God is or what heaven is. And when we get there, we're all going to be either surprised or we're all going to be going, "Aha, we were right." I don't care. I know where I am, and I know that I'm right. That's all. Does that make any sense?
Right. No, it does, because you know what? We're banking on our lives being right about this. So yeah, we have to put everything we have into it because, well, it is our eternity at stake after all. It's nothing minor, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, we have to get it right.
Dude,
Now,
let the dog bark. We're humans. We live lives. We
Okay,
love
hold
it's a
on.
dog.
dogs.
Come here.
We don't care. It's a
Oh,
dog.
yeah, totally. Let him bark at us.
Ruby,
I love it.
is that Scrappy Doo?
Oh, getting
Rar?
kisses. That's awesome.
Rars.
That's awesome.
Rars.
This isn't even my dog. This is Aunt Lizzie's dog. But Aunt
Oh,
Lizzie's
is
not
it?
here right now, so this is my dog right now.
Right, and that's why the dog's probably feeling a little out of sorts, perhaps, because she's not there.
All right, so to kind of wrap up the conversation that we were talking about, listen, I know you guys probably want more from us, but we don't run too much more than an hour, and we're over an hour already.
Holy
To
smokes!
those of you guys that listen to us, uh, listen, if you're Islamic, I'm not attacking you. If you're Hindi, I'm not attacking you. What we were talking about, what we started talking about was quote unquote MAGA influencers. And listen, there's influencers everywhere. They just get paid to piss people off and get clicks and tweets. And about what's going on between Iran and Israel right now. And I'm going to tell you, it's a nothing burger. It's an absolute nothing burger. If you want to go back to like circa 2020, sorry, 2000 or 2001, you haven't seen anything yet until you saw George Bush's shock and awe. And yeah, we could totally do a podcast for you about just all of that. What we were talking about tonight was Israel, Iran, and it's what's happening. And what's happening right now? Yes, there's people losing their lives, but it's a nothing burger. They haven't done anything yet, and it's also not a war. To all the MAGA influencers out there, I don't care if you block me. This is not a war. It's not a war.
Lindsey
It,
Graham wants one, but he ain't getting it.
it's not a war. Cass, am I wrong? It's not a war.
Well, it's let's go ahead and get. It's not our war. We're not in it. That's the
Oh,
thing.
true enough.
What they're doing over there, you can call it what you want. This is not our war, and we are not in it. And like I stated before, are we? Are we? No, we're doing the same thing we always do. Have we given arms and sold arms? Have we sold arms to Israel? Absolutely, and we've sold arms to France, Germany, Egypt, Jordan. We sold Iraq,
Britain.
Britain,
Yep.
Russia, Ukraine. We've given a lot of arms to a lot of different countries. I mean, the list is way too long. Does that mean
And we also, time out, we also give them first gen weapons. We never give them current weapons.
Yes,
United States.
absolutely.
You haven't seen what the United States has. Nobody in the world has.
Well, of course not. Why would you can't sell the store. You're just selling the candy out of it. Yeah.
But I do have one request.
I want to go back to Cass.
Can we give everybody that F-35, whatever piece of shit that is? Let's just give every country that one. We can give it to all
Please. Please, give them those. Jesus.
It's fine.
Get rid of that piece of crap.
I'm with you. All right, we hit an hour. We got to close it. Last thoughts. Last thoughts.
Live thoughts. I'm still with Trump. Did we vote for this? Yes, I voted to defend the world, the Western world, and that's what we're doing. Did I vote for getting rid of immigrants? Yes. Did I vote for all this? Absolutely. Am I turning on Trump because something happened over in the Middle East that Trump didn't start? No, I'm not turning on Trump. Trump's still my president. He's still your president. Good luck.
Edward,
My
we
last words
we
are
gotta go.
Canada's going into another election. We're getting rid of these dum-dums that the libtards that got in office illegally. Now we've been recounting the seats, and they all been turning from guess what back to blue again. The cheaters, So it looks like we're kicking out these libtards and all these immigrants that the 5 million that were supposed to go this year that haven't gone yet. Get rid of those. And the other 4 million on top of that will be later. But anyways, that's where we're at right now. Good news, I think. So those are my last thoughts.
I love it. I appreciate you guys. I will talk to you in the background, but I thank you for saying yes. I can start a email group so that we can be in contact for doing this
Yeah, makes it easier.
podcast. Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you so much. Dude, we did